A very good afternoon. Welcome to FA Cup Live as we continue the fifth round coverage. And what a Sunday afternoon it has been for FA Cup upsets. And we hopefully might have another one this afternoon. Leeds United of the Premier League taking on Championship Norwich City as Daniel Farke faces his former team. Norwich, of course, as Leeds boss. A Leeds team who are doing pretty well in the Premier League and a Norwich side struggling in the Championship, but of late have actually had a better run of form. How will they fare when it comes to a cup meeting? Already this weekend, 6 sides have booked their place in the quarterfinals out of the possible 8. Liverpool did it on Friday nights. Arsenal did it yesterday lunchtime. Chelsea did it yesterday evening, as did Manchester City. And then this afternoon, Southampton and Port Vale were the next 2 teams to book their places in the last 8. Those games, earlier this afternoon, Fulham beaten at home by Southampton. Ross Stewart's 91st minute penalty was enough to see the Saints through and knock out the Cottagers, making it the first non-Premier League side to progress this weekend. And the 5th away side in a row to win. Although Port Vale bucked that trend of their own, Port Vale of League One were able to knock out Premier League Sunderland at Vale Park. A big goal in the first half from Ben Waine was enough to see the League One outfit be the only League One team left in the competition, which is a massive feat, and only one of 2 EFL teams into the quarterfinals. Will there be another one? We will find out. Norwich, the last remaining EFL team fighting for their place in the quarterfinals. It's 4 Prem sides, 2 EFL sides, and we're guaranteed at least one more Premier League team for the quarterfinals when West Ham take on Brentford tomorrow night. But feature game here, Leeds United against Norwich City at Elland Road. Let's have a look at the 2 teams then and start with Leeds this afternoon. Lucas Perry continues in goal. They've gone for a back 3 this afternoon of Bornau, Biol and Gudmundsson. Ampadu and Longstaff are in midfield. James on right wing back. Nonto at left wing back. Ayo Tanaka through the middle as well, with the front 2 of Joel Piroux and Lucas Mecha. On the bench for Daniel Farke's side, Darlow, Justin, Stroik, Bogle, Byram, Stack, Gruyev, Aronson and Buonanotte. Strength in depth if they need it, Leeds, this afternoon. For Norwich, as I said, they're facing their former boss this afternoon, a Norwich side who were dwindling towards relegation from the Championship, but recent results sees them sit 17th and hoping they can cause a cup upset here at Elland Road. Grimshaw starts in goal, back 4 Fisher, McConville, Cordoba and Krizen. A midfield of McLean and Field with Magoma in the 10. Gibbs on the right, Ahmed on the left and Gvisgarden leading the line. On the bench for Norwich, Kovacic, Medic, Darling, Stacey, Slimani, Wright, Amankwa, Mundlesmith and Springett. Leeds against Norwich, they have a combining factor of Daniel Farke, one being the current Leeds manager and a former Norwich manager, but a lot more between these 2 sides over the years, certainly in the Championship when they've met multiple times before. But Leeds, a Premier League team, hoping they can join their fellow teams in the Premier League into the quarterfinals and be the first Premier League team to do it this afternoon after the other 2 were knocked out. But a Norwich City side who, as I said, have reached a better run of form recently, but have still got work to do and a big job on their hands to try and upset Leeds here this afternoon. Kickoff at Elland Road between Leeds and Norwich in the 5th round of the FA Cup is next. A very good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us for this one this afternoon here on LFS in our penultimate game of the FA Cup 5th round. And already some exciting results to bring you through, and nothing will probably beat that Wrexham Chelsea game that we watched last night that went all the way to the death. And Wrexham took Chelsea all the way to extra time. And ultimately Chelsea winning with that extra man in extra time. An incredible game last night that we witnessed. This afternoon, it's Leeds against Norwich at Elland Road. Leeds in all white, Norwich in their yellow shirts, green shorts, yellow socks. And it is the visitors who get us underway here at Elland Road. Already, as I said, EFL sides have had the better of their Premier League opponents this afternoon. Southampton holding out Fulham at Craven Cottage. And Port Vale getting a great victory over Sunderland at Vale Park. So Leeds, after it was a day of Premier League sides yesterday, Leeds might be the only Premier League team to progress this afternoon. Or could it be a hat-trick of EFL upsets? We will see. And Leeds United side, who have had a bit of poor home form as of recent. They lost their last 2 home league games by a 1-0 scoreline. Manchester City and Sunderland, the 2 teams to come to Elland Road and win in the last 2 home games. Leeds want to return to that confident Elland Road form that has helped them so much this season in trying to stay in the Premier League. Here is Gudmundsson. Of course, a back 3 for Leeds this afternoon. Unusually so, more wing backs being more wingers in a sense, with Nonto and James playing in those wide areas. That was nice from Biol to get it out wide. Trying to flick it over the top for Nonto on the run, but well dealt with there by Fisher. All the way back to McConville, who will give it back to Grimshaw, but Leeds on the press. McConville going long, looking for the target man there in Kvistgarden. And that's going to be a free kick. Now there, Field giving away the foul, and a free kick to Leeds United. Daniel says, who do you think will win tomorrow's game? Well, it will be a close one at the London Stadium, but you got to say, I mean, a West Ham team who picked up a big victory, they will be kind of a team that will feel a lot of confidence as of recently, West Ham, albeit no guarantees. But Brentford are a team that have shocked a lot of people this season and are a lot better than many predicted. So, albeit they scraped through in round 4, if we watched that game at Macclesfield in round 4 on the Monday night, this one is a much more even game in terms of the 2 Premier League sides. But you'd have to say, in terms of form, you would say West Ham, but in terms of quality, you would have to argue Brentford. But who knows? The all Premier League ties, that's the good thing about them in the FA Cup. They could go either way. They're that close. As Gudmundsson trying to break down the left there. Felt he was held. The referee does agree. And it's going to be a Leeds free kick. Referee Darren England this afternoon. Of course, VAR in action across all FA Cup 5th round ties, as it would naturally be here at Elland Road anyway, as they're a Premier League team. Yeah, it's just a pull there by Gibbs on Gudmundsson. And that's a free kick. And the referee just explaining the decision to Liam Gibbs there. Guess it says Liverpool versus Norwich already. Sean Longstaff is the one it looks like who's standing over this Leeds free kick. Lots of Norwich height in there, very tall. At Norwich 7 that are in that line. It is Longstaff to deliver for Leeds. Wide on the left-hand side, in line with the cut of the grass. Right-footed delivery by Longstaff and headed away. Nicely cleared to the second time. Picked up by Gudmundsson, who will shoot from range. Thought it took a deflection there on the way through, but it bobbled through and out the other end for a goal kick. Daniel says Arsenal bound to get Port Vale tomorrow. Well, of course, the draw will take place before the kickoff in the West Ham Brentford game. So we will know when we come on live for that game tomorrow night. We will know who will possibly face who come the quarter-finals. And of course they'll be played across Easter weekend, the 4th and 5th of April. The FA Cup quarter-finals. It was nicely done by McLean. Played it back to Cordoba. Grimshaw. Go long again, the Norwich goalkeeper. Nicely done. And Ahmed is broken behind Bornau here. Couldn't carry the ball with him. Allows Bornau to recover. And Ayo Tanaka a little bit sloppy there. Magoma does well. Yeah, Norwich did well there as Kenny McLean there. just looped it for goal kick. But we see here the touch from Ahmed, beautiful, bursting into that space and behind. If he could carry the ball with him, that second touch would have been in, but as the second touch took him away from it and allowed Bornau to recover. But Ali Ahmed, the Canadian, 25 years old, joined Norwich in January for £1.8 million from Vancouver Whitecaps. Scored in Norwich's last game, that 2-0 win over Leicester last weekend. 8 days since Norwich's last game. Of course, they won away at the King Power Stadium. Ali Ahmed on the score sheet alongside Slimani, who's on the bench this afternoon. McConville. Leeds haven't dominated the early moments. It's Norwich that have actually had the better of the possession to this point, albeit with a lot of their defenders. But here's Cordoba, looking for options down that left, has to spin it back to McConville, who will give it back to Grimshaw. Right to McConville. Grimshaw going to go long again after they tried to play out there, Norwich. Chested down by Biol, who has to evade Ali Ahmed there. Nicely done though, as Bornau clears down the right channel. Not much rhythm in the game for Leeds so far though. They've not been able to get the ball down and play it as of yet. Here's Ahmed. Comes back in field, is under pressure as he forces it back into a space for McConville, who laid it off nicely. McLean. Nicely done. Fisher down the right side looking for Gibbs, but seen out of play, and that's going to be a Leeds throw. But it was nice play there from Norwich. Nice one touch. Biol breaking forward. Gives it back to Ao Tanaka, who's just dropped in alongside those centre-backs for the moment, which is what you usually see from a defensive midfielder that can drop in, allow the centre-backs to go a little wider, create the space, open up the angles for the centre-backs to play those through balls. Here's Perry, Leeds goalkeeper. Well, Leeds' route to the 5th round of the FA Cup has seen them in 2 away ties. As Mecha trying to break him behind was offside. But 2 away ties at lower league opponents. Derby County in round 3, of course, we watched that game. They went 1-0 down against Derby and come back and won 3-1 in the second half. Joel Piru missed a penalty in that one. And then in round 4, they needed penalties to get past Birmingham City. At St Andrews, they led the game, Leeds, and a late equaliser from former Leeds player Patrick Roberts for Birmingham. And it went all the way to penalties. Sean Longstaff scoring the winning penalty for Leeds on that day. That was their route to the 5th round. So their 5th round game, their first home draw of the tournament so far. For Norwich, this is their first away draw in the tournament so far. Their 2 previous rounds have been at Carrow Road. 5-1 home win against Walsall, and then a 3-1 home win against West Brom in round 4. Has them to this point. Unusual FA Cup dynamics for both teams, as a bit of a late challenge there in the middle by Leeds. Biol gives away a free kick. Gizjob says you're streaming Galatasaray v Liverpool. We are on Tuesday night. We'll actually be doing 4 games in the Champions League across this week. The early game on Tuesday, the late game on Tuesday, and then the 2 Wednesday games, the early and the late kickoffs. All involving English teams, all of our games on Tuesday and Wednesday night. Looking forward to the Champions League, of course. Very exciting. Round of 16 matchups. I have to say, Leeds have really struggled in the first 10 minutes here to get any sort of possession of any real great note. Nice through ball there. Nonto was well cut out by McConville. Fisher with a clearance, but again, with every Norwich kind of clearance, Leeds will pick it back up, but there's no space between the lines for Leeds to exploit at the moment. Dan James, first real touch of the ball. I think real great note, but he's dispossessed. Here's Ahmed. Has to play it back to his left back there. And Krizen. Beal does well to win it off Chris Garden this time. And again, that ball from the wide. Nonto couldn't get on the end of it. Longstaff picks it up. He's going to shoot from range. Always rising above the crossbar there, Sean Longstaff. That effort. Again, a bit of a loose ball by Gudmundsson towards Nonto, and then nicely retrieved by Longstaff on the loose ball. Ultimately, well over the crossbar with the effort. Well, Leeds have lost 2 of their last 15 meetings with Norwich in all competitions. 1-9 and drawn 4. On both occasions, they lost to current manager Daniel Farker when he was Canaries boss in April 2018 and February 2019. And the last time the two sides met was when Leeds went on to win the championship last season. In last January, they played each other here at Elland Road. Leeds won by 2-0 on that occasion. Actually, the last couple of games at Elland Road between the sides have been good Leeds wins. Leeds have, on each of the last 4 home games against Norwich, and that came in the championship. Also in the playoffs in the championship, they won 4-0 here in the playoffs the season before last. And in the end, of course, in the Premier League, when the two sides were in there in the 21-22 season, Leeds won 2-1 here. That late winner from Joe Gellard, after Kenny McLean thought he'd won, drew the game for Norwich. Norwich's last win at Elland Road was February 2019. As I said, when Daniel Farker was the Norwich boss back then. Vrancic, Teemu Pukki, and Vrancic again with the 3 goals before Patrick Bamford's late consolation. 3-1 Norwich win back in 2018. Or 2019, sorry. Just short of 14 minutes gone. Leeds 0, Norwich 0. And it's Norwich again that have wrestled back a lot of possession. Not much has happened at either and towards either box as of yet, but Norwich have been looking the more comfortable so far. They've settled better than Leeds, which is a bit of a surprise. Ampadu with a nice ball. Good hold off by Mecha. This is good from Leeds. Gudmundsson bursting down the left, looking for options. Mecha gets away from a convol, tries the cross, blocked. Behind for the corner. Yeah, first time we've really seen Leeds use Lucas Mecha as hold-up play and distributed it wide for the overlapping Gudmundsson. Gudmundsson bursting down that left side, and McConville had to make sure it didn't get past him. Corner it is. And the first corner of the game goes the way of the home side. Right on the quarter of an hour mark. 15 gone. And Sean Longstaff over to take this first Leeds corner. Lots of bodies wrestling in the box. Right footed delivery. Swung to the back post towards Tanaka. Well headed away. And And that was Ahmed that cleared it. Yeah, we've seen that before from Leeds. Those corner routines, and now Tanaka at the back post. Nicely done there by Ahmed, making sure that Tanaka didn't get anything to that corner. It will be a long throw though. That's a long ball in by Ampadu. It's half cleared by Norwich. Chris Garden couldn't hold that up for Norwich on the breakaway there. Gudmundsson with the recovery. Daniel says, have you ever tried to put the real crowd noise in the background? I don't know how easy it is to find a showing that doesn't have commentary of its own. It's hard to get the real crowd noise. It is really quite difficult. We do have kind of automated crowd noise. It's kind of like a false crowd noise, but it's crowd noise nonetheless. Just create a bit of atmosphere than you just not hearing just my voice. But let me know if it's loud enough or quiet enough or whatever, what you prefer. But the real crowd noise is incredibly hard to get. It would be ideal though. It would be nice if they allowed us to have that, but unfortunately they don't. Longstaff trying the ball around the outside. It's one that Dan James was willing to chase, but Crizen had that well under control. Grimshaw goes for the long goal kick. Header one by Beale. Up in the mix. Longstaff takes it down. Now Tanaka. Leeds try and get some possession from the midfielders who've been really quite marked out of the game so far by Norwich. Leeds have really had to bypass the midfield to get any sort of play to this point. Beale. Ampadu. Oh, Tanaka, back to Ampadu. Now to Jacobiol. Has to go all the way back under a little bit of pressure there from Magoma. All the way back to Lucas Perry. Leeds are a little bit slow so far, and it's not appeasing the home crowd at Elland Road. That's nicer, but a little bit better from Joel Piru, coming a little deeper. Gudmundsson tried to feed it down the left. Well blocked again as Nonto tried to come across. Be that option. I have to say Norwich have done well though, keeping Leeds shielded both in the wide areas and through the middle. It's a very hard balance to kind of keep. That's a lovely ball over the top though this time. Oh, and Nonto gets a little push. The keeper comes and misses it. And it's going to be seen in by Lucas Mecha. And Leeds United take the advantage. A mistake at the back by Grimshaw, who couldn't get anywhere near it. And Lucas Mecha was there to say thank you very much. Leeds 1, Norwich 0. And if the Premier League side needed any help, well, they've just been gifted it by the championship opponent. Darren England, of course, will be in full conversation with VAR to make sure all was okay in the build-up. But this ball from Jacobiol, beautifully guided in behind. You see here, Willie Nonto just kind of, I don't know whether he pushes McConville a little bit or gets a little shove on him, but he tries to manoeuvre him out of the way. And you got to say, if you've ever seen Willie Nonto, he's not the tallest of figures, but what he does here is he sneaks around the back of McConville, and Grimshaw comes for it. Lack of communication from Norwich, really poor. And he sneaks around the back. Oh, does he use an arm? Oh, does he use an arm there, Willie Nonto? That could be the question, because it looked like, I thought initially he got his head to it. I think this might be ruled out because Nonto seemed to have used his upper arm to take the ball around Grimshaw. And that could be the question mark over this. Well, Darren England's been called to the monitor. We see it here. Once you see it, Yeah, it just comes off his arm. His upper arm here. Yeah. I mean, it'll be harsh, but it does come off his arm. His head doesn't make contact. From the other angle, it looks like it does, but the argument could be if it's accidental, it doesn't lead directly to the goal, does it? The argument is, I think he handles this, and this will be disallowed. Let's hear from Darren England after review. Leeds number 29 handballs. And final decision, no goal, direct free kick to Norwich. So Wilfred Gnonto snuck round McConville, but used his upper arm to take it away from Grimshaw, and then it found its way to Lucas Mecha, and that's why the goal has been disallowed. Although the Norwich goalkeeper is still down. Daniel Grimshaw, who will feel it. His blushes have been saved by that handball from Wilfred Gnonto. This is a little bit of a concern, though, for Norwich. The fact that Daniel Grimshaw played in their last round of the FA Cup, has been their FA Cup goalkeeper this season. Their second choice. Looks like in that whole collision he must have hurt himself somewhere. Although he is up to his feet again after receiving some treatment. They were looking at the warm-up of Kovacevic on the bench. Vladan Kovacevic, the Bosnian. He is the number one choice Norwich goalkeeper, but it looked like they will continue for the moment with Grimshaw. Philippe Clement. Taking charge of his 23rd Norwich game to joining the club in mid-November. A club that was within the depths of relegation. Well, that's a nice touch by Mecha, who's breaking him behind. Cordoba got some contact there. Was it fair? The referee says yes. And expectedly, the home crowd don't agree, but he's put it out for a Leeds throw on the left there, Cordoba. As I was saying, when Philippe Clement came in mid-November, Norwich were very much a relegation-threatened team. Since the turn of the year, they've actually lost twice. Since the third round of the FA Cup, they've won 8 of their last 10 games in all competitions, only losing to Middlesbrough and Birmingham on that run. As Cordoba commits a foul here, that's going to get Leeds a free kick. Lucas Mecha just trying to break away from the centre back, and Cordoba just gets a hold of him. It takes Lucas Mecha to the ground, and that's going to get Leeds a free kick. Well, expectedly, the goal got the crowd up and lively. Of course, the disallowing of the goal would deflate the crowd once again. Longstaff's floated ball to the back post, headed back into play. Pirou knocks it back for Gnonto, who struck it on the volley, but struck it well off target. See it here, Longstaff's ball deep to the back post, a threatening one. Norwich don't really deal with it well enough. It actually works back into the box. Pirou lays it back to Willie Gnonto. He struck it well, but struck it off target. Clean strike, but lacked the accuracy, ultimately, from Gnonto. Tanaka bundled over there as he was trying to win the ball. And that's going to get Leeds a free kick, and it's going to get a yellow card handed out here for Ali Ahmed. So a yellow card for the Norwich winger. 25 minutes gone here at Elland Road. Leeds 0, Norwich 0. Leeds thought, as I said, they'd taken the lead, but Nonto with a handball in the build-up sees it disallowed. McConville's header drops for Nonto here. Should get a little bit more on the ball, Leeds. Last few minutes, which is what you would kind of expect from the Premier League outfit, but Norwich started really well. Longstaff's attempt to find Nonto again was thwarted. Bornau's press there forces Cordoba into a clearance here. Picked up by Ao Tanaka in the middle. Wrestled off the ball though. And Chris Garden. Down the right hand side comes Gibbs. Game's opened up a little bit more. Here is Magoma wrestling and battling with Tanaka, who won the ball, and Longstaff all the way back to Ethan Ampadu, who fires forward, looking for the run of Dan James, who's got the inside of his man. Dan James is away here. He tries to lay it across. And no contact from Metcha in the middle, who feels he was pushed to the ground there. The Leeds centre forward. Referee Darren England points for a goal kick, but this ball from Ampadu, the run from Dan James on the inside of the fullback, just takes the fullback out of the game. And he squares it across, and Lucas Metcha, all he has to do is direct it towards goal and makes no contact whatsoever. Leeds are claiming that he was pushed, but not on that occasion. They're on the push again here, Leeds. Gudmundsson's cross finds Metcha on the turn, who fires it over the crossbar. The momentum has certainly swung for the home team though in the last few minutes. They've had more goal-mouth opportunities. This again, nice direct ball, fed out to the left-hand side by Peru. Dropped deeper, found Gudmundsson, who worked it into the box. And as it bobbled on the half-turn, Lucas Metcha being held onto there by Cordoba. And then when he got his shot off, just didn't connect with it cleanly. Stuck over the crossbar. Well, Lucas Metcha has come into the game a lot more in the last few minutes. The German scored 7 goals this season for Leeds. 6 in the Premier League, 1 in the FA Cup. He scored in that win over Birmingham in the 4th round. It was that opening goal in the second half against Birmingham that he scored. That is his last goal for Leeds. He hasn't scored in each of his last 3 appearances for the Elland Road side, albeit in those 3 appearances Leeds have scored just the once themselves as a team. Bornau's deep cross, too close to Grimshaw, who should have this one under control. Actually, the last goal that Lucas Metcha scored at Elland Road was a winner. It was in a 1-0 win over Fulham back in January. He scored in the 91st minute in that game. That was his last goal he scored at Elland Road. And on 2 of the 3 occasions that he has scored at Elland Road this season, Lucas Metcha, they've been result-changing goals. Of course, his very first goal was in the very first league game of the season at home to Everton, and that penalty win, that penalty that got them the win later in that game, and then the 1-0 win over Fulham. Gudmundsson trying to cut back. Well blocked behind for another corner to Leeds. Pushing and probing the Premier League side in the last few minutes. Will appease Daniel Farker, who has a touchline ban. So he's up in the stands at Elland Road. And his assistant is the one down on the bench. Edmund Reimer on the bench for Leeds this afternoon as the main voice from the bench, from the sidelines. Corner to Leeds, left-hand side. Right footed delivery by Longstaff. Headed confidently away by McConville. Gudmundsson skips away from a challenge and it was held there. Albeit, that's going to be a free kick. Seems like Norwich are flapping a little bit. They're trying to do their best to keep a hold of, keep Leeds at bay, but the energy of Leeds coming a little bit much for Norwich so far. Giving away quite a few fouls. Championship side. Speaking of the Championship, there is a Championship game at the moment. QPR against Middlesbrough at Loftus Road. It is Middlesbrough who lead in that game. Strelic with the only goal as Longstaff's free kick. Forced behind for a corner. Floated to that right-hand post by Longstaff. Trying to find, I think it was Beal that was breaking around the back. In the end, it goes behind off a Norwich defender for another corner. Leeds will feel that they need to find the goal here soon. They've been pushing quite a lot. Longstaff with the corner. Headed away by a Norwich player. Kept alive though by James. Longstaff to whip it in again. Headed away by Cordoba. Again recycled. Ampadu wrestling to battle for the ball. Does well. Finds Peru. Tries to return it to his captain, who's right on the punch for the ball again. Goes down wanting a penalty. Dan James's cross was cleared. Referee looked at him. As if to say, he went down a little softly there. Of course, VAR will check. Here's Nonto. Couldn't find a way through. Looked like there was contact though, but referee didn't think it was enough contact to give a penalty. Here's Jacobiol. And goes for that diagonal. Out to Nonto, who takes it down beautifully. Nonto trying to work in and around the defenders. Lovely little poke ball for Goodmanson, who breaks in behind. Goodmanson's cut back on the turn. Lovely. Beautiful goal. Sean Longstaff on the half turn. Fires that one home. And Leeds United do take advantage of the momentum that they have garnered in the last 5 minutes. On top and now lead. Leeds United 1, Norwich City 0. And they've been the better team since that goal got disallowed. Around about 10 minutes ago, Leeds have continued to push. It's this ball from Nonto. He carries 2 defenders with him. And Goodmanson just breaks off the back. And Norwich are too late to react. Goodmanson makes the undercutting run. Gets to the byline, cuts it back. And Sean Longstaff, fabulous on the turn. Strikes it sweetly and cleanly. The touch and then the strike. Beautiful goal. Leeds 1, Norwich 0. And the home side deservedly in front. I have to say, that is a wonderful goal by Longstaff. Top tier. Top quality. I have to say, Norwich have struggled to keep Leeds at bay in the last 5-10 minutes. They've been piling on the pressure, the home side, and they do find their breakthrough. And I said it was key that Leeds did find the goal when in this moment when they're on top, when they're dominating the game. Because in the FA Cup, it's really important that we've seen Premier League sides already this afternoon play the better football, be the better teams at times, but not take advantage. That's only the first shot on target of the game. Norwich yet to have a shot in this game so far. What can they offer in response to Leeds going ahead? Present. Ahmed. Ahmed back on the ball, pressed by Tanaka, but gets it back to Cordoba. Back out wide to Ali Ahmed. Down the touchline. Skips in. Past Peru, back to Ahmed. Ahmed with the shots. Dragged wide of the right post. It's a long way out, but it was all really nice play by Ali Ahmed. He was the key to this attack and very much involved there. Nice little 1-2, give and go. And then he saw the little space for the effort. Clean strike, but keeper would have had it if it was on target and just struck wide of that right post. But a little bit better from Norwich though. Long clearance there by Perry. Mecha wrestling away with his man. In McConville again. Luckily, Norwich, for them, able to clear the danger. Only as far as Ao Tanaka, who plucked that one out of the air. Ampadu to Longstaff. Into Tanaka, who fired it out wide to Gudmundsson. And, blocked there by Fisher, out for the throw. Well, they did check that possible foul on Ethan Ampadu a little earlier. And the call really was they stick with the on-field decision. It would have been harsh if the penalty was given. It was a little soft in my opinion. Here's Dan James breaking down the right again for Leeds. Right-footed delivery, it's deep. Arriving! Couldn't clear it away though. And Gudmundsson couldn't reach it. Kenny McLean clears it away, only as far as a Leeds throw down the left. Arms folded. Daniel Farker watching his current team beat his former team. Of course, did so well with Norwich. That's nice. Gudmundsson cuts it back. Too far ahead of Bernal and just behind Dan James. Ao Tanaka wins it back off Ahmed. Biol. Now Ao Tanaka. He's really got stuck in the last 5 minutes. The midfielder. Piru. Now he's Mecha. Cuts it back to Nonto who slept, but Piru's there to help out. Piru. Out wide to Gudmundsson. Feints it in behind. Finds Nonto. Wide on the left. Fisher and Gibbs in the way, but Nonto goes for the cross. And Kuzen had to get something to that. Dan James was lurking at the back post, and as Tanaka battles for the ball, gives away the free kick. Yeah, Nonto here stands it up, gets past his man, and Kuzen with the defending. Flicks it away from Dan James. Good defending. But it was Kellen Fisher that was beaten to it by Nonto to get the cross in. Tricky little customer, Willie Nonto. Grimshaw will take this free kick for Norwich over what is a cloudy, glum Yorkshire afternoon. So far, so good for Leeds United. Here in the first 10 minutes, really struggled to get any real grip on the game. But you have to say they had a goal disallowed. They've also scored again. So they do lead and have taken firm grip of this first half into the final 7 minutes of this first period. And it is the home side who are not only leading but pushing for more and playing really good stuff at the moment. Piru. Dan James trying to flick it, but Kuzen has had the better of him. And a real clattering tackle there on Kenny McLean by Sean Longstaff. It's going to get Norwich a free kick. I think Kenny McLean was claiming it should have been a yellow card as well. And I think the referee agrees. Sean Longstaff has been booked here, I believe. And I think the referee's correct, because he just comes clattering in. I mean, very cynical tackle from Sean Longstaff. Free kick to Norwich and a yellow card for him. Fisher. Gibbs. McLean. Going for the switch ball. Looking for lovely touch by Ahmed. Finds it to Field. Now across to Kenny McLean. Gibbs comes across. Now Makoma tried to play it through first time, but well cut out by Leeds. And now they want to spring away on the counter of their own. Nonto's going to chase. He's got all the space in the world here. Nonto, can he find someone? Only Piru in the box. Cuts it back. Gudmundsson. Now Nonto. And he dig out a cross. He's going to cut it back. Longstaff. Is he going to cross? No. Gudmundsson out wide. Gudmundsson's cross. Drops down. Here's Dan James. Takes it in the inside the box. Going to curl it. And Nonto heads it in. But the flag's up. Well, Dan James's curler. I don't know whether it was going in. Let's see it again. Goodmanson's cross, it comes all the way through, it bounces down in the box, drops for Dan James at the back post, who takes control, gets it onto his left, and Nonto was just offside, but was it going wide? Might have just been curling wide. Dan James's shot there, it was going wide. But Nonto had to head it to get it on target, but he did it from an offside position. Oh, and actually, Cordoba's been booked for a foul earlier on. So Jose Cordoba gets a retrospective yellow card, and the check is complete. It is no goal. Bit of a let off again there for Norwich, who've been really under the cosh in this more recent stages of this first half. Gotta say though, if they can hang on to 1-0, you never know. That's what you do say in these sorts of games, that 1-0's never a comfortable scoreline in any cup game, but no matter who you are and who you face, Leeds will know that. And they've been punished by it as recently as round 4. And they were 1-0 up against Birmingham and were pegged back late. Oh, given away cheaply there by Fisher. Here's Mecha. Options in the middle. Trying to find someone and cleared away. Piru was the target. Cleared away as Norwich try and win the ball there through Fiskgarden. And he's given away the foul on the Leeds captain, Ethan Ampadu. Yeah, see it here, Fiskgarden just kind of shoves Ethan Ampadu. It's a little lazy. They go right through the middle again. Mecha. Leeds have got such rhythm now. Here's Dan James. Cuts it across, bobbles around, and it's poked in. And it's Goodmanson this time. Leeds do double their lead. And Norwich City, who've been hanging on in this first half, are hanging by a thread in this cup game. Leeds have been by far the better team, and the scoreline fairly reflecting that. Gabriel Goodmanson is the one to poke home the seconds, and Leeds are 2 to the good. And see it again here. It's Tanaka's through ball, laid off by Mecha and guided out to the right hand side by Longstaff. Found Dan James, who took on his man, flicked it across. It took a deflection off McField, I think it was actually. And then as it drops, Goodmanson in the middle, jolly on the spot, is there to plod it home to give Leeds a second. Good connection, clean strike into a corner where the goalkeeper wasn't. Leeds 2, Norwich 0. And the nice little celebration there, Gabriel Goodmanson. The pregnancy celebration. He's not pregnant. His partner seems, I would suspect, would be. And Leeds are 2-0 up. Well, Philippe Clement calling for calm for his team, but it's been a real tough first half for the Championship side, who have only had one shot. That was Ali Ahmed's shot that was wide, but they have been really under a lot of pressure. Once Leeds have hit their rhythm, they've been really tough to kind of stop, really, in this game so far. And Norwich have really had very little to combat them with. Mecha with the hold up, Nonto in between the lines, beaten to it by Field. Break of the ball there as Magoma tried to get on the end of it, but cleared away by Ampadu. Well, stayed down here as Willie Nonto, and the referee's just going to make sure that he's okay. You'll see it again. Yeah, just a clash of feet there between Field and Nonto. It's not a foul. And, it's a painful one for Nonto, but Sam Field really didn't do very much wrong there, I have to say. Last few seconds, the first 45, we'll see how long's added on. A couple of VAR checks in this first half. And we'll have 6 added minutes Still a bit to go before the interval, and here come Norwich on the breakaway. Fisgarden played it through to Magoma, who couldn't find anyone in the middle. Kept alive by Norwich. Deep delivery by Crizen, but too high for Fisgarden, and it's gone behind for a goal kick. There are options when they do get further forward, though, Norwich, and if they can get it to those attackers, they can be a threat, but it's the fact they haven't been able to do that. And I have to say, they were able to get into decent positions early doors, but as I said, since Leeds have kind of taken stronghold of that midfield, they've really struggled to carry it forward. Field battling to take the ball down in the middle. Nice to find Magoma, who was dispossessed, and Peru does well to guide it to Leeds' second goal scorer, Gabriel Gudmundsson. Longstaff. Looks like it's going to be another Premier League side heading through to the quarter-finals. Albeit still a long way to go, but Leeds are pushing for another here, and Peru's effort well away off targets. Again, good combinations again between the lines. Gudmundsson's cross once more. See it here. Nonto breaks towards the box. He lays it out wide to Gudmundsson. Fires it across, and the shot from Peru's directed well wide. But better though, again from Leeds to actually get the corner out of this situation. So it must have took a deflection on the way through. I have to say my feed is having a real torrid time here. Breaking up quite a bit. Very little I can do about that at this moment. Longstaff to take the corner. Into the box it comes, it drops. I think it was it Ampadu that got something to that, but cleared away by Norwich. Longstaff on the recovery, helping out Dan James. Gudmundsson. All the way back to Lucas Perry, who's had very little to do so far. The Leeds goalkeeper. Only one shot has faced so far, the Leeds goalkeeper, and he was off target, so wasn't really called into action. Well, in terms of cup games between these sides, the last cup meeting between the sides was in the League Cup back in October 2016 at Elland Road, where Leeds and Norwich faced each other. That was almost 10 years ago, and it was 2-2 after 90 after extra time. Went to penalties. Leeds won 3-2 on penalties to progress, and then were knocked out by Liverpool in the following round in the quarter-finals of the Carabao Cup. And Lucas Mecha was down receiving some treatment there, by the way, but he should be okay. Back up on his feet, which garners an applause from the home crowd. Well, this is the fourth FA Cup tie between Leeds and Norwich. The Canaries went through in a fourth round replay. Listen to this, in 1934-35, while the Whites won 5-0 in a third round second replay in 72-73, and then 5-2 in the third round in 76-77. So they haven't played each other in the FA Cup since the 70s, and Leeds won both of those fixtures in that decade. But Leeds, on the other hand, are looking to reach the FA Cup quarter-final for the first time since 2002-03 under Terry Venables. They've been knocked out in the 5th round on 4 occasions since. This is their first home game at this stage since the 98-99 season, where they drew 1-1 with Spurs before losing a replay 2-0. Magoma. And the cross in. Needs to clear it away. Last few seconds of the first half, in which Leeds have dominated. And the scoreline, as I said, fairly reflecting that state, as Cordoba, a little late catch on Mecha there, but no harm done really. Yeah, Cordoba just a little late there on Lucas Mecha. And Daniel says, how much time do you spend preparing for these, learning players' names, finding facts to talk about? Well, I kind of do a little look when we have the fixtures that we decide. I kind of have a little look at form, a little look at the teams before they play, and then find a little bit of context around them. But the stats are kind of, you just kind of have to find. There's lots of places that do stats and find little facts to talk about. And I kind of just purge of those, kind of collate all those facts together and just kind of use them as I go along throughout the game. I have to say, I can't take credit for everything that I say. I do use kind of previous fixtures live when I'm on the iPad here beside me, and kind of collate it all together in my brain and tell you live, but a lot of it is just pre-prepped. Some of it is based on the game state, what way the game's going. Norwich have a free kick here. Kenny McLean will take. It's a deep cross. Flicked on the edge of the box. A real hauling between two players there. I think it was Liam Gibbs was the one committing the foul. He was, so it is a free kick to Leeds. But Sean Longstaff was the other one that was battling there. 2 number 8s. But no time to take that free kick for Leeds, because half-time it is. And a first half which they've been much the better side. It took them a while to get going though, but when they did, they've been pretty much unstoppable against the championship opponents. They thought they'd taken the lead when Lucas Mecha slotted home. That was disallowed for a offside in the build-up. But they did take the lead when Sean Longstaff struck on the half-turn. Beautiful little finish from a Goodmanson cutback. And then Goodmanson turned from provider to striker of his own when he plodded home a cutback from Dan James across the box. It's Leeds United 2, Norwich 0 at the break. And we have a big second half to come. We'll talk about all the results as well in a few minutes. Do stay with us. Your one last kick. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal! Baratskeli is through, wants to add a 4th, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable! Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and battered it. Another whip ball in, the header is in! By Virgil van Dijk! Incredible! Welcome back to FA Cup Live. Second half at Elland Road between Leeds and Norwich is on the way very shortly. Leeds 2-0 up at the break. Goals from Longstaff and Gudmundsson have the Premier League side heading through as it stands. One more tie to come after this one in the FA Cup round 5. West Ham take on Brentford in an all Premier League tie tomorrow at 7:30 here on LFS. Looking forward to that tie tomorrow evening. Before that, we will have the draw for the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. That draw will take place tomorrow, and it is all building up to the FA Cup quarter-finals on the weekend of the 4th and 5th of April. That is Easter weekend. 4 weeks this weekend from the quarter-finals. And as I said, we know 6 teams that are in that quarter-final. They are Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester City, Southampton and Port Vale. 2 still to be decided. At the moment, at half-time, it's Leeds that would be heading through, and we'll see who will come through against West Ham and Brentford tomorrow. But still, Norwich are not out just yet. It's only 2-0, and as they say, is one of the most used phrases in football. 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in football. Will it be dangerous for Leeds, or will they kick on and complete the job in the second half? And they've been pretty dominant in the first half, you have to say. Leeds United, and deservedly, are leading this by 2-0, and with a bit of comfort, you got to say, so far, really nicely done, and probably should be further ahead with the opportunities they've created. But Daniel Farke, I'm sure, will be very happy with what he's seen from his players. Big second half to come, though, at Elland Road, and that's on the way next. Do stay with us. Welcome back to FA Cup Live in our penultimate live game of the 5th round here on LFS. Great to have your company this Sunday afternoon for this one. It's Leeds against Norwich. Leeds leading by 2-0 at the break. The Premier League side in front. And Norwich of the Championship. We've hit, as I said, a really good run of form. 8 wins out of the last 10 games in all competitions. But in that first half have been second best. And Leeds deservedly with a 2-goal cushion, but a big second half to come. And as I said before, 2-0 isn't confirmation of a win, but it is a very big advantage that Leeds will not want to give up easily. It looks like they're going to have a bit of an adjustment to their play in the second half. It looks like Sebastian Bornau is going to be replaced, and James Justin is going to replace him at right back for Leeds. And it also looks like the Norwich goalkeeper, who we said Daniel Grimshaw was having a struggling out there in the first half after his collision, and it looks like Vladan Kovacevic is going to be coming on. And Kovacevic is on to replace Grimshaw. So one side, both sides making a half-time change. Let's see what we have in store for the second period. Leeds kicking from right to left, Norwich from left to right in the second half. And we are underway once again at Elland Road for the second period. As I said, Leeds United looking to get to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup for the first time in 23 years. And Norwich looking to cause a bit of an upset here. So far, no upset has been on the cards. See here, Kovacevic just clashes with Dan James, but no foul there. James took a whack, but it's not a foul. And Back to his feet. Favorite Clement, what would he have said to his players at half-time? It's been a difficult first half for his players, but what will he do to try and fire them up to stay in this game and keep themselves ticking over? They've struggled to really create very much in the game, albeit they were holding leads quite well early doors, but only had the one shot in the game, the visitors, and that is something they'll want to improve on. Even if they don't come back and win this game and pull off the upset in the comeback, they want to make sure that they go down fighting at least. Give a few scares to Leeds, certainly in this game if they can. Convol, Cordoba gives it back to Kovacevic. Being pressed too much as he goes directly up the middle. Header won by Jacobiol. Second ball brought in by Piru. Ultimately, though, dispossessed by Magoma. Krizen. Back to Cordoba. Well, interestingly, only 2 shots on target in this game. And they've both been Leeds United goals. Well, it's not that Leeds have been pummeling the Norwich goal, but when they have got up in and around it, they have threatened it. Being clinical is Gudmundsson here and Fisher in a little bit of a tussle. It's a free kick to Norwich. Gudmundsson wanted a foul and then grabbed a hold of the ball as he went down, so that's definitely a foul for handball. And that's a free kick to Norwich. Down a little easy there, Gudmundsson. It definitely wasn't a free kick on him, or a foul on him. Ampadu. A bit of head tennis here from the Leeds players as Tanaka plays it all the way back to his goalkeeper, Lucas Perry. That was nice from Leeds under pressure. Tanaka sprays it out to the right hand side. Here's James Justin. Down the line to James. Justin. I like that. Dan James out wide to James Justin again. Back to Dan James. Nice play between those two. James's cross away by Cordoba. Picked up by Longstaff, and Leeds looking to pick up where they left off in the first half. Push for another goal. Justin with the cross, sorry. Punched away by Kovacevic, and he's collided with one of his own players here. So that's another concern for Norwich. It's McConville he's clashed with. So Rory McConville is down alongside the Norwich sub-goalie, Vladan Kovacevic. And of course Kovacevic, who came on for the injured Daniel Grimshaw just a few minutes ago, is the one that's down alongside his centre-back. That's the last thing they need, is to have another goalkeeping injury here, Norwich. Certainly had quite a lot of injuries this season. I mean, there's a whole list of them here. Topic, Kramak, Forsyth, Diallo, Amas, Makama, Schwartau, Matson, Mahovo, Schlupp, Duffy, Toure, all out injured for Norwich this afternoon. That's 12 players that are out injured, and that doesn't include the goalkeeper who got injured in the first half, Daniel Grimshaw, who had to be taken off at half-time. Well, we talked about it in the first half. Champions League action in midweek. Tuesday and Wednesday night. Tuesday, double-header sees Galatasaray take on Liverpool in Turkey. That's at 5:45 on Tuesday, followed up by huge game between Newcastle and Barcelona at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday night, Leverkusen host Arsenal in Germany. That's at 5:45 on Wednesday, followed by PSG, the reigning champions, hosting Chelsea at the Parc des Princes. That is on Wednesday nights. 4 Champions League games for you midweek. He's could have sent it down the left-hand side. Ahmed trying the cut back towards Magoma, but well shielded by Longstaff. To say, I'm having real technical problems with this feed that we're watching this on. It's a real issue. I thought it was on free-to-air TV back again, but there seems to be a problem in the area, which is just typical, you know, just typical. But we're trying our best to give you the best coverage as we can at the moment. We're not missing anything right now, but thank you very much for joining us this afternoon here in LFS. Great to have your company for this one. Leeds at the moment 2-0 up against Championship Norwich in the FA Cup 5th round. Norwich, tried to play the ball through the lines there, gave it away a little cheaply, but Kellen Fisher picks it back up. Luckily, by the way, Kovacevic and McConville are okay. That's a lovely switch ball by McLean. Plays it to Ahmed down the left-hand side. Back it comes to Field. Field, little flick to Magoma. Round the corner in the shot. By Kvistgarden is well over the crossbar. Nice play though. Better from Norwich. And a rare foray forward for them. It all started with Ahmed off that left. Cut it back to Kvistgarden. Linked it up with Field. Then Magoma back to Kvistgarden, who had the shot well over the crossbar. But better play though. I have to say we've been disappointed a little bit by the attack and play of Norwich, and I said it, Philippe Clement would have been disappointed with his side's performance in an attack in the first half. They really offered very little and barely laid a glove on Leeds in terms of trying to push them back a little bit when they had their own spell of possession, Norwich. And I think, you know, in the second half, albeit they're 2-0 down, I said that, you know, even if they are going to go out, at least go out with a fighting cause. At least try and show yourselves with a better performance in the second half and make it a real good cup game. But at the moment, so far, not really so good. Nonto down the left, wins a throw in out of Kellen Fisher. Tanaka. Down the left hand side, Gudmundsson. Back to Ao Tanaka. Oh, slipped a little bit there, Ao Tanaka, but goes out for a throw. To Norwich. 10 minutes gone of the second half. Leeds 2, Norwich City 0. Norwich have been eliminated in each of the last 14 FA Cup ties against top flight teams while playing outside the top division themselves. They last progressed from one of those ties in the third round in 1981-82 when they beat Stoke City 1-0. Ampadu. And reverse it towards Mecha, but well cut out by McConville. Across to Cordoba. Fired into Magoma, who drops a little deeper. Linking up with Ahmed, back to Magoma. Trying to carry them forward as Magoma tries to find it in behind for Gibbs, who's wrestling with Goodmanson, and Ampadu was able to reach on the ball as it dropped. Clears it away, but a little bit better for Norwich here. Better possession. Actually had more of the ball in the second half, Norwich, than Leeds. Had the only shot of the second half so far of the visitors. Magoma drops to find Field. Field's going to shoot from range. Right down the throat, though, of Lucas Perry. But that's their first shot on target, so certainly impressive. Improving, shall I say. As Metcha was well seen out there by Rory McConville. Well, we talked about Norwich's form overall. Their away form is actually really quite impressive. They have only lost once on the road in the last 8 games, and that dates back to the start of December. And they've won 5 of their last 6 games away from home, Norwich. And the other 2 were draws in that last 8 run. The only defeat in the last 8 was away at Middlesbrough at the end of January. They've won their 2 away games since without conceding, away at Oxford United and away at Leicester. They've also won away at West Brom, away at Wrexham, and away at QPR in this run. That Wrexham win is a big result, you gotta say. It has been a real improvement from Norwich, and you know, a side that has been recently a Premier League team, as we know. You know, when Philippe Clement came in to the side, they were just off the back of a 1-1 draw at home with Oxford and a 4-1 defeat away at Birmingham. They were in the bottom 2 in the Championship. They were 23rd in the Championship when he took over. Since then, they've risen as high as 16th. In recent times, they currently sit 17th in the Championship. Norwich, 13 wins, 6 draws, 16 defeats, and find themselves a good 10 points clear of relegation. Threatened Leicester in 22nd and Oxford United in 23rd, who are both on 35 points. Not only that, though, they're only 12 points of 6th place Wrexham in the playoffs. So the mid-table in the Championship is a very bizarre place, because you lose a couple, you could be in a relegation battle. You win a couple, you could be in a promotion playoff race. So strange. Free kick whipped in here, and that's gone all the way through. Goal kick it will be to Leeds. More applause though from Philippe Clement. Happy with his side's second half performance so far. Good delivery in. Just headed off target there by Cordoba. Showing more attacking threat though, and I think key to that has been Magoma. You know, Paris Magoma hasn't really had much involvement, didn't have much involvement in the first half, but he's been able to work between the lines in this second and be much more aggressive, much more involved in the build-up. Here's Kenny McLean as they look to go to their bench, Norwich, in a few moments. Cordoba down the left-hand side to Kraseni. What's room as Ahmed plays it back into Field and back to McLean. He will break forward away from his marker. McLean tries to feed it down the left, but well dealt with. How about Lucas Metcha? Sorry, not Lucas Metcha. Ethan Ampadu, apologies, who received that one. Another goal in that Championship game between QPR and Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, who were leading through David Strelic's goal set up by Morgan Whittaker, and they lead by 2-0 now, Middlesbrough, so retaking grip of the top 2 spots and creating that gap between them and the playoff teams at the moment, after Millwall's big win away at Hull yesterday closed the gap to 1 point. Middlesbrough trying to open it up back to 4, and they are heading on their way to doing that. Trying to close the gap as well to Coventry, to back to 5 points after Coventry opened their gap again after their win yesterday as well. So both sides, either side of Middlesbrough winning, and they at the moment are doing the same away at Loftus Road. That goal scored by Alan Brown. It is QPR 0, Middlesbrough 2. Good hold up by Metja. Goodmanson looking to float it in behind for the run of Nonto, who strode onto the half clearance there by Kellen Fisher. Nonto able to retrieve. Goodmanson seen out of play by the Norwich defender for a throw. And while we do have the ball out of play, it looks like Norwich are going to go to their bench. A triple change incoming, so they made a half-time change. Of course, that was enforced due to a goalkeeping injury, so a triple change incoming. And we'll tell you about all of those in a second. So the substitutions, triple change. Going to see Gibbs, Magoma and Kvistgarden all replaced. And they're going to be replaced by Stacey, Slimani and Mundell Smith. So Errol Mundell Smith, Anas Ben Slimani and of course Jack Stacey are all going to replace Liam Gibbs, Matthias Kvistgarden and of course Paris Magoma. So triple change there for Norwich. Leeds are going to go to their bench as well. It looks like. Going to see the end of the day for Joel Piru, is it? Actually, no. Joel Piru was getting some liquids there on the sideline. And of course, Joel Piru receiving some liquids, of course, after the breaking his fast, of course, during the period of Ramadan. That is why he was taking on some fluids during that substitution. Leeds actually put out a statement in the week after the game against Manchester City was stopped due to respecting the period of Ramadan, and the crowd were less than impressed. You got to say, they released a statement saying they were very disappointed with the crowd's response. And a much more respectable response there to the situation. Ampadu. Be all. Justin. Trying to flick it down the right hand side for Dan James, but well cut out by Crisena. McLean on the half turn finds a lovely ball here to Mundell Smith, who's breaking away, and Norwich on the move here. Mundell Smith at the byline, cuts it back across. Oh, and Slimani should have given Norwich a goal. Beautifully created down that left-hand side. Oh my goodness. Errol Mundell Smith breaking down that left channel. Takes on James Justin, gets to the byline, and Slimani at the back post. Oh, swung off the inside of the post there from the cross, and then Slimani's effort crashes off the outside of the right post and wide. Oh, Tanaka was there on the scene, but should have been 2-1. Now Leeds have to be a little bit worried. Piru finds it to Dan James, who was dispossessed well there. Tanaka wrestles in again, but bodies flying everywhere here. But Norwich have the ball once more. Slimani's ball through there. Sorry, Crisena's ball was well cut out. Goodmanson. 20 minutes gone of the second half, 25 to go. Leeds 2, Norwich 0, but Norwich have come as close as they have all afternoon in the last minute or so to try and get him back into this game, and they've probably been the better side of the second half so far. Not really seen much of Leeds in the second period. Norwich with 5 shots, 2 on target. Leeds without a shot in the second half, so the momentum has swung back in the favour of the visitors in this second period, and had a very golden opportunity to try and cut the deficit in half. Slimani couldn't finish though. Tanaka flicking it over the top, looking for the run of Nonto, who was beaten to it by McConville. And Rory McConville goes down under a challenge by Willie Nunto, who doesn't agree, expectedly. That's going to be a free kick. Daniel says, who do you think is going up from the Championship this season? Well, it's a very impressive Championship season, and one team I've been very impressed with has been Millwall. Incredible from them this season. 19 wins this season from Millwall already. They actually have more wins this season than they had in the whole of last season. So they're a team to watch, Millwall. They're not only chasing playoffs, they're chasing possible automatic promotion, the way they're playing at the moment, Millwall. And of course, Coventry are the favourites. They've been the favourites all season. Middlesbrough are up there in the mix. And Ipswich, Hull, Wrexham, Derby even are still in the battle. Maybe even Southampton and Watford possibly in the battle for playoffs. So it's a good mix, but I think Coventry and Middlesbrough will be two teams hard to displace in that top two. And but I think Millwall are a team to watch. So certainly I've been very impressed with Millwall this season. Speaking of Middlesbrough, by the way, Hayden Hackney has just scored a third for Middlesbrough. Tommy Conway with the assist. And it is QPR 0, Middlesbrough 3 at Loftus Road. Foul there on Ao Tanaka by Slimani. He's going to get Leeds a free kick. Yeah, just caught Ao Tanaka's foot there. There's a free kick. And Norwich made a triple change of their own a few minutes ago. It looks like Leeds are going to follow suit in a moment or two. 3 players ready and waiting to enter the fray very soon in Leeds colours. Good hold up by Mecha, but the cutback to try and lay it off to someone was displaced, and Kenny McLean wins it. Ahmed down the left, back to field. Right, Fisher. Stacey. McConville now. Slimani plays it back to Cordoba. Into Sam Field. Tries to go quick. Dispossessed, but he's won it back and finds Slimani. I say left there by McLean. Dragged the press and leaves the gap in behind. Kenny McLean works it into the area. That was a great ball. A blind pass though by Kenny McLean, but it was beautiful delivery. Really good quality. The man that was in there in the middle was Mundell Smith. He couldn't throw himself at it in the nick of time. Errol Mundell Smith. So triple change from Leeds then. Lucas Metch is receiving some liquids, but he's staying on. The triple change got to be Ao Tanaka, Dan James and Sean Longstaff all coming off. Longstaff, who opened the scoring for Leeds this afternoon with his beautiful flick and then strike on the reverse. It's beautiful on the half turn. Gorgeous goal. So they're all off, the trio of Tanaka, James and Longstaff, and they're all being replaced by Pascal Stroik, Jaden Bogle, and the third substitution is Anton Stack. So Bogle, Strouk and Stack all on, replacing Longstaff, James and Tanaka. And strength and depth for Leeds off the bench. I said in the lineups announcement at the start of the game, Leeds have strength and depth if they need it. They haven't really needed it until this stage, but more fresh legs rather than anything. That's a good cross by Bogle. First action cleared away by Norwich. Stacey with the clearance, and Stroik here picks it up, finding Willie Nonto. Skips away from his marker in Kenny McLean. Nice. Stack's gonna shoot. Piru, sorry, and that shot's onto the crossbar. I think the keeper had something to that there. See it here. Nice from Willie Nonto to break away from the challenge. Lays it off to Joel Piru, who has the space and time. And it comes off the top of the crossbar. Helped on its way, they believe, by the goalkeeper. I don't know if he did get a touch to this. He does. That's a fabulous touch by Kovacevic. Corner to Leeds it is then. 20 to go. Looped into the area. Flicked on by Stack. Peary was in the mix. Ampadu chasing to win this ball back off Stacey, who under pressure puts it behind for a corner. Wanted a foul. And I think it's a corner has been given. VAR checking for a possible handball though. And check complete. No handball. Corner it is. Yeah, Jack stays. Kenny McLean, sorry, just tries his best to shield it away from Ethan Ampadu. The two captains there battling. And Ethan Ampadu just stands his ground. Puts the pressure on, and corner will be to Leeds. Stack to deliver from the left. Right footed. It's low. It's at the near post, and it's actually going to be a free kick to Norwich. A foul at the front post there. So a free kick to the visitors. Well, Leeds, albeit Norwich's record against top flight opponents is not great, Leeds' record against lower league opponents is very good. They've progressed from each of the last 6 FA Cup ties against sides from a lower division. Leeds, since they lost 3-0 to Crawley back in January 2021. And as a Premier League side, the Whites have won 8 of the last 9 at Elland Road against lower league opposition, since they lost 1-0 to Wolves back in March of 1998. Looks like this one's going to go the way of recent history for Leeds in this competition and at Elland Road. Ampadu recycling it to Strauch. Finding Mecha. Trying to poke it through for Nonto, but it was well blocked. A bit of pressure here on Field, and the shot from Jaden Bogle is well directed wide. Well, Leeds, in contrast to their opponents' form, are without a win in 3 games since their FA Cup 4th round win over Birmingham on penalties. They're last without a win in 90 minutes since their 3-1 win against Forest here exactly a month ago when they beat Forest 3-1. That's 5 games without a win in 90 minutes, including that 4th round tie against Birmingham. And only 1 win of that nature in their last 8 in all competitions, and that was that Nottingham Forest game. But I have to say, Leeds have... We talked about Norwich getting themselves out of the relegation mire. Leeds have given themselves a little bit of a cushion, not too much, but a little bit. It is going to be tested again when they return to the Premier League, with Forest picking up points, West Ham winning in their last games, and Leeds losing their last game in the Premier League. Means the gap to the bottom 3 is just 3 points from Leeds, but Leeds are looking like the side that could fend it off if needs be. Although a tough run of games incoming. A trip to Crystal Palace, Brentford at home, and then a trip to Man United are on the horizon for Leeds. But a couple of battles against relegation teams in their final few games. They've Wolves, Burnley and West Ham and Spurs actually to play in their final 6 games of the Premier League season. 4 of those teams are relegation battlers, so they will fancy themselves, Leeds, in that run. For Norwich in the Championship, they've still 11 games to play, of course, missing a Championship game this weekend due to this FA Cup round. Actually, they would have missed it anyway, even if they weren't in this 5th round, because Southampton were. So both sides having their game postponed this weekend against each other. Their next game in the Championship, Norwich, is in midweek, Wednesday night, when they host Sheffield United, before they have another home game against Preston at the weekend. And with 11 games to go in the Championship, they are looking to continue their recent good form between now and the end of the season. Of course, Leeds will have the midweek off after playing midweek just gone in the Premier League in that 1-0 defeat at home to Sunderland just 5 days ago on Tuesday night. We'll have the midweek off before they play Palace next Sunday on a week today. Oh, chance there from a corner. Directed away from Joel Piru by Kovacevic, sorry, and big save by the goalkeeper. Needed to make it, and did so, keeping Norwich within the realms of a comeback. But it's getting more tricky as the clock continues to tick down. On the Leeds corner, Stack's delivery, way at the front post, and as they try and break away there, the foul committed. That's going to be a Norwich free kick. One of the contenders for player of the match, Gabriel Gudmundsson, Sean Longstaff and Dan James. At the moment, I'd say Gabriel Gudmundsson would be my player of the match. Goal and an assist. Key in a lot of Leeds' attacks in that first half. He was very important to Leeds' attack and play that was a struggling start really from the home team, but really came into their own when Gudmundsson was able to break down that left quite a number of times in the first half, and of course key to the 2 Leeds goals, setting up the first and scoring the seconds. Ahmed on the left, looking for a way through into the box. Cross delivered, poked away to try and build up a bit more for Norwich in the edge of the area. But no way through for them as of yet. Since their big chance, really, Norwich, around about 15 minutes ago, they've not really threatened too much. Haven't had a shot since, actually. Norwich, since that Slimani opportunity in the 64th minute. And of course, across Easter weekend, of course, what we usually do traditionally across Easter weekend is championship action. Of course, on Good Friday and on Easter Monday, we have a lot of championship action for you across that Easter weekend, as is tradition here in LFS. And with no Premier League football that weekend, it'll be FA Cup action as well. So, championship and cup action to look forward to across Easter weekend here in LFS. Haven't really taken a good look at the fixtures for Easter weekend, but some exciting ones. Middlesbrough Millwall will be a huge one. Southampton Ipswich as well. Some key games on that battle. And of course, as usual, we'll have the championship playoffs when they come around in late May. Well, here in LFS. That ever so tickles your fancy. Big next 2 months to come, 2.5 months of the season still remaining before we build up to the World Cup, of course, this summer. It's a very exciting year of football, with the World Cup coming in June, July. Stacey trying to break forward here for Norwich, but Gudmundsson all over it. Able to squeeze it away from danger, although comes right back at Leeds. Nicely clipped away by Stack. Finding Ampadu. Ampadu to Mecha. Bogle. Back to James Justin. He will give it back to his goalkeeper Lucas Perry into the last 10 minutes. And of course, as I said, for the first time in 23 years, Leeds will be thinking about who they'll be facing in the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. Of course, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Southampton and Port Vale, all possible opponents, along with either West Ham or Brentford when the draw gets done tomorrow evening. It'll be very interesting to see who will face who, whether any of the big Premier League sides will face off. Of course, the first four going through will probably be the favourites, and whatever ties they play, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester City, they will be the favourites. If they all avoid each other, they will be the favourites to be through in their four ties, but who knows? We have a big 50-50 chance of them possibly facing each other. There is that opportunity that still lies in wait. And two of those teams that went through have come through away games in an all Premier League tie already. Liverpool and Manchester City winning against fellow Premier League opponents away from home already, so well prepared. If those big names do face each other, of course it will be inevitable. At one point we get to a certain amount of teams, it will be unavoidable at one point, but the top Premier League sides all trying their best to avoid each other. There's nothing they can do to change it, but they all hope they can avoid each other until an unavoidable situation, if I can get my words out, which would be possibly a semi-final. Of course, we want the highest quality games in the FA Cup, but nice to see League One Port Vale amongst the big boys, of course. Southampton of the Championship as well, representing the EFL in the final 8. Of course, in terms of last season's FA Cup, in terms of the quarter-finalists last year, we actually only had one non-Premier League side in the quarter-finals last year. That was Preston. They were beaten by Aston Villa in the quarter-finals. And then, of course, Crystal Palace beat Villa in the semis, and City beat Forest, and then Palace, of course, winning against City in the final. We had one quarter-finalist from the EFL in the season prior, 23-24. In terms of 22-23, we did have two. And in Blackburn and Grimsby, who were in the quarter-finals that year. And Port Vale, the first team to reach the quarter-finals of the top two, outside the top two tiers of English football since Grimsby did it in the 22-23 season. Well, that's a nice breakaway from Stack, who's got the legs. If he can break forward here, Leeds are on the move to really put this to bed. It's Lucas Mecha, breaks away from his man. Mecha lays it through. The shot, the finish by Joel Peru is going to finish it off for Leeds. Adds a third to put all certainty now that Leeds United are going to the quarter-finals for the first time since 2003. And Daniel Farker's current side beating his former side in doing so. Leeds 3, Norwich City 0. And the Elland Road crowd, who've been a little bit quieter in the second half, are entertained by that third goal. Back to front. Again, from Norwich's point of view, avoidable, but Anton Stack with a nice build-up play. Mecha held his run just in time against Cordoba. Cut inside the defender. Laid it off to Peru, who held his run as well against Sam Field, who was the last man, and he just tucked it in the far left corner. Past Kovacevic, and 3-0 to Leeds has put the game to bed beyond any doubt. Now, 3-0. And is another stat. It's his first goal of the campaign, Joel Peary. Can you believe that? Hasn't scored in any game for Leeds this season. 16 appearances previously. Hasn't scored this campaign. It's his first goal in a competitive game since he scored 4 against Stoke in a 6-0 victory when they were in the Championship, Leeds. In their third to last Championship game of the season. He scored 4 in that game. Hasn't scored since then. And he's put it beautifully into the back of the net. As Leeds going to make a change, their final of the game. It's going to see the introduction of Sam Byram to replace Gabriel Gudmundsson, who scored the second Leeds goal. He set up the first and is surely going to be player of the match with his great performance. Gabriel Gudmundsson is awarded Emirates Player of the Match, and deservedly so. And Sam Byram on to replace him. Leeds may not be done scoring yet, as has to be guided back. Metje was on the chase, but Kovacevic gets rid of it. It has finished at Loftus Road in that Championship game. Middlesbrough got another late goal. 4-0 winners away at QPR. Tommy Conway, who got the assist for the third goal, scored the penalty for the fourth. And a big win on the road for Middlesbrough to reaffirm grip of that second place. Now a 4-point gap between them and third, and a 5-point gap between them and the top place side, Coventry. So in a bit of a land of their own there, Middlesbrough in second. 4-0 winners away at Queen's Park Rangers. QPR mid-table, just above Norwich actually in the table in the Championship. QPR, Norwich with that result against QPR will have the chance to go above them when they next play Norwich. If they win their game, they would go above them. Well, a very positive result it will be for Leeds, but a bit disappointing for Norwich. They've had a good cup run, but the cup run will come to an end here at Elland Road. Norwich side have always really done well over the last few years in cup competitions. And as I said, their cup involvement will come to an end for another season. Norwich win the ball back. They wanted to foul their Leeds, but referee saw no issue. Oh, Leeds might add another here. Lucas Metje to Gnonto round the back. Gnonto, good save. Metje can't get his feet sorted out. And when he does, it deflects behind. He feels it should be a corner. I think they've given a goal kick there. Yeah, Lucas Metje has done really well again. Lays it off to Gnonto. He bursts past his man, cuts it across. Kovacevic gets the save, and as it drops for Metje, he couldn't get his feet in the right position to shoot. Gets it all a bit tangled, keeps it alive though, and when he does get the shot off, it does deflect behind. It should be a corner. McConville with a deflection. Lucas Metje denied there. Well, this is the latest that, the furthest that Norwich have got since they played Liverpool in the 5th round at Anfield back in 2022. They lost 2-1 to Kumi Minamino with the 2 goals for Liverpool in the first half. And Lucas Rupp with the only Norwich goal in that game. That was also, there was a Dean Smith Norwich side back then. That's the furthest they've been in this round since then. And a quarter-final appearance has been a real rarity, if anything, for Norwich well over the years. 3 additional minutes at the end of the 90 then. Arguably Leeds have been by far the better team. and looking to try and get back on that really strong home form that they had for a while. Lost 3 of their last 4 at home, albeit they've played City and Arsenal in those 2 of those 4 games, and they've acquainted for 2 of those defeats, but lost 3 of their last 4 without scoring leads at home. So a win in the Cup can turn things back around for them, get them back into a good run of form at home, because they were in a good run. They beat Chelsea, drew with Liverpool, beat Palace, drew with United, and beat Fulham in a 5-game unbeaten run at Elland Road before their most recent run. And they were looking like a real side that were going to possibly push to mid-table rather than be in a relegation battle at that stage of the season, but kind of faltered a little bit as of recent. But Cups can be a welcome rejuvenation of some form, and something I think Leeds might need to just conjure in the next few weeks to keep themselves as a Premier League side come next season. Who knows, Norwich might do the ultimate and find themselves in the playoffs come this season. It's a big tall order. Said only 12 points behind playoffs, which is a good run of form in the Championship, so never rule them out, but as I said, a very tall order for Norwich if they are to do that. Yellow card coming out here. Kellen Fisher, the recipient of that yellow card. A reminder for you, West Ham against Brentford is our final FA Cup 5th round tie. Tomorrow night, 7:30 kickoff from the London Stadium. Before that, we will have the results of the quarter-final draw. Leeds will have their name in the hats amongst 6 other sides. And then West Ham and Brentford will fight it out for the final spot in the last 8 come tomorrow night, 7:30 on LFS. Won't want to miss it. An old Premier League tie. And as Daniel Farke leaves his seat high up in the stands, ready to congratulate his players and I'm sure give them a very warm welcome into the dressing room. Because there's the final whistle. And Leeds United, by far the better side. The Premier League side prevail against their Championship opposition. Sean Longstaff got the scoring underway. Gabriel Gudmundsson made it 2 before Joel Pirou's late goal in the second half put it beyond all doubt. Leeds are into the quarter-finals for the first time since 2003. And Norwich, their longest run of the Cup in a number of years, is over. Round 5 has been the furthest they've got in recent memory, and they've been knocked out at this stage once again against Premier League opposition. Final score at Elland Road, it's finished Leeds United 3, Norwich City 0. Didn't need an advert there, but here's the confirmation of the 7 results from the FA Cup across this weekend. No penalty shootouts, by the way, only 1 extra time, but no penalty shootouts. Liverpool 3-1 winners against Wolves on Friday night. Arsenal followed that up with a narrow 2-1 win away at Mansfield on Saturday lunchtime. Chelsea needed extra time to see off Wrexham last night. 2 goals coming in extra time, meaning they are through to the quarter-finals are Chelsea. City coming from 1-0 down to beat Newcastle 3-1 at St James's Park. And today, in the early games, it was the EFL clubs that had really taken grip. Southampton of the Championship beating Premier League Fulham at Craven Cottage with that late penalty, confirming victory for the Saints. And Port Vale of League One beating Premier League Sunderland by a goal to 0 at Vale Park to also progress. And Leeds joining them, winning by 3 goals to 0 against Norwich. And West Ham Brentford will be the final game of the round. So, the sides into the quarterfinals as it stands. This has not been an updated graphic, but this is the majority of it. Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and City, all from yesterday's games, and Southampton and Port Vale and Leeds from today's games in the FA Cup. As I said, 1 more to come. West Ham taking on Brentford. That is tomorrow, 7:30. on LFS, All Premier League tie, and we will have the draw for the quarterfinals at around about 7:10. They will take underway. We'll have the results of those when we go live tomorrow night. Confirmation, the FA Cup quarter-finals get underway in 4 weeks' time, the weekend of the 4th and 5th of April, Easter weekend, here on LFS. But that is it from us this Sunday afternoon. One and done, and Leeds United are through to the quarter-finals for the first time in 23 seasons and 23 years, a long-awaited time. But the Premier League side knock out the Championship side, and a Norwich side who were in great form just couldn't get the job done against Leeds today. Thanks for your company, and we'll see you again tomorrow night. Night-night.